Good morning, students. We are revising chapter 2, Money and Banking of Macroeconomics. And today we will discuss functions of central bank. Some of the functions are done. And today we'll explain controller of credit and money supply and instruments of monetary policy. How RBI controls credit? It is through monetary policy. And what are the tools of monetary policy? First is repo rate. This is the rate of interest at which central bank lends funds to commercial bank. In a situation of excess demand and inflationary pressure, the central bank increases the repo rate. High bank rate forces the commercial banks to raise the rate of interest, which makes credit expensive and public is discouraged to take loans. So at present, January 2020, repo rate is 5.15% and reverse repo rate is that rate at which banks park their surplus funds with RBI, that is 4.9%. So you have learned definitions of both repo rate and reverse repo rate. Next tool of monetary policy is open market operations. These refer to buying and selling of government securities by the central bank to public and banks. This is done to influence money supply in the country. Sale of government securities to commercial banks means flow of money into the central bank, which reduces cash reserves. कि जब इन्फ्लेशन होता है, मनी सप्लाई को कम करना होता है, तो गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ को कमर्शियल बैंक्स सेल करते हैं. कमर्शियल बैंक्स खरीदते हैं, आरबीआई सेल करता है और मनी का फ्लो आरबीआई में चला जाता है. कमर्शियल बैंक्स की लैंडिंग कैपेसिटी कम हो जाती है और वो आगे से कम क्रेडिट देते हैं. एंड व्हेन सेंट्रल बैंक बाय सिक्योरिटीज़, इट इंक्रीजेज कैश रिजर्व्स ऑफ कमर्शियल बैंक्स and their ability to give credit increases. Next is CRR, cash reserve ratio. Commercial banks are required under the law to keep a certain percentage of their total deposits with the central bank in the form of cash reserves. This ratio is called CRR, cash reserve ratio. In times of inflation, CRR is increased. Commercial banks have to deposit more than before with the RBI and their lending capacity reduces and credit is controlled. Next, how does CRR create money supply? When CRR falls, commercial bank keep lower reserves with the central bank. This releases funds for the commercial banks to lend. As lending increases, money creation in the economy expands and in this way money supply increases. Next is exchange control. Next function of central bank is exchange control. Another duty of central bank is to see that external value of our currency is to be maintained. For example, Reserve Bank of India takes steps to ensure external value of a rupee. It adopts suitable measures to sustain its value. This exchange control system is one very important measure. For this, according to this system, every citizen of India has to deposit all the foreign currency it has with RBI, and whenever it needs, it has to go to RBI to have that. So, ultimate custodian of foreign exchange is RBI. Next is lender of last resort. In times of emergency, when commercial banks fail to meet obligations of their depositors due to liquidity crisis, जब liquidity crisis होता है, संकट होता है, then they approach central bank as a last resort, आखिरी सहारे के रूप में वो RBI को approach करते हैं for getting loans. As lender of last resort, the central bank guarantees solvency and provides financial accommodation to commercial banks. तो वो commercial banks को accommodate करते हैं, उनको कंगाल होने से बचा लेते हैं, सॉल्वेंट होने से बचा लेते हैं, और by providing loans against their securities and by rediscounting their eligible securities and bills of exchange. So in this way कोई भी बैंक जिसमें फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस होता है वो बच जाता है और जो हमारा पूरा सिस्टम है, फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रक्चर है, वो भी टूटने से बच जाता है. नेक्स्ट फंक्शन ऑफ RBI इज custodian of foreign exchange reserves, that is the same as I have explained just now. Next is clearing house function. As a central bank, it acts as a clearing house for its member banks. Banks receives checks drawn on the other banks from their customers, which they have to realize from drawee banks. Similarly, checks on a particular banks are drawn and passed on into the hands of other banks, which have to be realized them from the drawee banks. So students, in simple language, बहुत सारे बैंक्स में हमारे सभी लोगों के अलग अलग बैंक्स में अकाउंट्स होते हैं. हमने सपोज़ चेक के द्वारा किसी की पेमेंट देनी है तो हम अपने बैंक से उस बैंक के नाम, जहाँ पर जिसको हमने पेमेंट देनी है उसका अकाउंट है, उसके नाम हम चेक बनवाएंगे और वो कस्टमर लेकर अपने बैंक में जाएगा. वो हमारे बैंक से, हमारे अकाउंट से पैसे निकाल कर उसके अकाउंट में डिपॉजिट कर देगा. तो ये जो प्रोसेस है, बहुत सारे बैंकों के, बहुत सारे दूसरे बैंकों के नाम, बहुत सारे चेक्स बन जाते हैं. तो RBI में क्योंकि सभी कमर्शियल बैंक्स के अकाउंट्स हैं तो वहाँ पर क्रेडिट डेबिट बैलेंस एक ही जगह पर हो जाता है और सभी चेक वहाँ पर क्लियर हो जाते हैं. इट इज़ कॉल्ड क्लियरिंग हाउस फंक्शन. नेक्स्ट, कलेक्शन एंड पब्लिकेशन ऑफ डाटा. It has also been entrusted with the task of collection and compilation of statistical information relating to banking and other financial sectors of the economy. So students, Reserve Bank collects and publish data and compiles statistical information and publishes for its customers. These all are very important functions of central bank. And at last we have to learn the comparison or difference between commercial bank and central bank, as central bank is the apex institution and commercial bank is merely a unit of banking structure. Central bank's primary aim is general public welfare, but the function of commercial banks is to generate profits. Then central bank has the monopoly or absolute right to issue currency, commercial banks has not. Central bank cannot deals with the public, commercial bank deals with the public. Central bank acts as a banker to government, but commercial banks can't. And central bank decides its monetary policy to realize economic stability and full employment in the country. Commercial bank plays a supplementary role and is quite often regulated by the central bank. And central bank is the custodian of nation's gold and foreign exchange reserves, but commercial bank does not perform such functions. So students, the revision of this chapter is over now, and do revise each and every page, each and every topic of this chapter. That's all for today. Thank you.